Hello, welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Chat About It with me, Rachel, the Queen of the Woke. As crowned by one of my haters, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed already. I really couldn't do this without you, and I really couldn't do this without you today because, well, do you remember several weeks ago I covered the potential DSD athletes? I was quite fair, I was quite reasonable to the whole entire situation because it wasn't as easy as it seems. It wasn't as clear cut as people were making it out to be. Well, those videos were trundling along and people were interacting with them quite nicely. And then suddenly they just went and they got suppressed and they've not had views since and they've completely fallen off the chart. They're not even going, from what I understand, into people's recommendation pages or the up next pages. And I've definitely seen the up next stats. And they're not even there. So it's not even happening. So yes, they got taken off a cliff, and unfortunately, my channel took a hit for it. Well, I'm going to be taking another hit today because I'm covering the Paralympics. Now, the opening ceremony for the Paralympics was today, so I decided to release this video in time for that. And I will say this: the International Paralympic Committee have actually decided that they are going to allow a transgender woman to compete. Yes, Valentina Petrillo is going to be competing in the Paralympics. She's going to be the first transgender woman. Now, I'm going to say this. Whilst the situation with the potential DSD athletes was not as clear cut, this one is clear cut. And I will say that I don't care how many medal positions that Valentina has won or not won in this case as a living life as a trans woman. The fact it remains that Valentina is still a biological male, therefore holds a very big advantage, potential advantage, bigger reach, bigger steps, longer stride over the other biological female competitors. Now, that doesn't mean to say that I actually don't think that transgender people shouldn't be competing. In actual fact, like the DSD, potential DSD athletes, I actually think they should have their own category. You just can give them their own category. Even my mum said she thinks it's about time, really, that the Olympics and the Paralympics will actually join together over a longer period of time. I know why they don't, because of the changes that they actually have to make and then to ensure the Paralympians' safety. That is obviously important, but things are moving on with the times. Maybe we need to update some of the methods that we actually use here. They introduced gender testing for a reason, and it was to keep men from infiltrating women's sports by cross-dressing and actually pretending to be biological females and thus therefore winning the event. So it was there to have fairness. And I know some people have said to me in the past, well, you wanted equal rights, so therefore, you're going to get equal rights, and this is what should happen. But the thing is, we wanted equal rights for voting and being able to work and pay. That doesn't necessarily mean that means equal rights for biological male in biological female sports. I'm all about fairness, but if you go to that degree of fairness, where is the fairness? This Italian sprinter will become the first transgender woman to compete at the Paralympics. This is from AP News, by the way. Valentina Petrillo fell in love with athletics as a 7-year-old while watching Italian sprinter Pietro Mania, I think I said that correctly, win gold in the 200 meters at the 1980 Moscow Olympics. I wanted to be like him, said Petrillo, a transgender woman who was raised as a boy. I wanted to put on the blue Italy shirt. I wanted to go to the Olympics, and there was a but, I wanted to do it as a woman because I didn't feel like a man. I didn't feel like myself. 4 decades later, at 50. Okay. Oh, so Petrillo is a lot older than the average athlete. Petrillo is about to finally realize her dream, but not at the Olympics. In 2 weeks, she is set to become the first transgender woman to compete at the Paralympics when she runs the 200 and 400 meters in the T12 classification for visually impaired athletes. World Athletics last year banned transgender women from competing in the female category at the international events if they transitioned after puberty. I can't think why. But its para counterparts, World Para Athletics, has not followed suit. Petrilla was diagnosed as a teenager with Stargardt disease, a degenerative eye condition, considers herself lucky despite the challenges she faced. She's lived most of her life as a man and only came out as transgender to her wife, with whom she had a son in 2017 before beginning hormone therapy 2 years later. Yes, I have problems with my vision. I'm partially sighted. I'm trans. And let's say that's not the best in our Italy, being trans, but I am a happy person. She told the Associated Press in an interview at a track she trains in a suburb of Bologna, where she lives. I began transitioning in 2019, and in 2020, I realized my dream, which was to race in the female category to do the sport that I had always loved doing, she said in Italian. I got to 50 before it came true. We all have the right to a second choice of life, a second chance. In a statement to AP, the WPA said transgender athletes in its women's competitions are required to declare their gender identity for sporting purposes is female and provide evidence that their testosterone level has been below 10 nanomoles per liter of blood for the last 12 months prior to their first competition. The thing is, you can reduce that amount of testosterone. However, biological factors such as foot size, leg size, height, all of that still count. They still can go against a biological female when they're racing. Testosterone is a natural hormone that increases the mass and strength of bone and muscle after puberty. The normal adult male ranges up to about 30 per liter of blood, compared with less than 2 per litre for women. Any future changes to WPA's rules position in this area will only be considered following appropriate consultation with teams and athletes and taking into consideration the rights and best interest of all those involved. Well, the thing is, maybe in the best interest of Valentina's, but is it in the best interest of the other biological women in that category? In a sport already grappling with how to create a level playing field among athletes with different levels of impairment, some of Petrilla's competitors says she has an unfair advantage, which, is true because biological male. There was a backlash against Petrillo in Spain last year after she narrowly beat Spanish athlete Melanie Burgess to fourth place in the semi-final of the World Championships, meaning that Burgess didn't qualify for the final and so missed out on the chance of making it to the Paralympics. Burgess called it an injustice, telling Spanish report site Relevo that while she accepts and respects transgender people, we are no longer talking about daily life, and we are talking about sport which requires strength, a physique. The Spanish Paralympic Committee told AP that its stance had not changed since last year, when a spokesperson told Spanish media that we respect the regulations of the World Para Athletics, which currently allow trans women to compete, as is the case with Valentina Petrillo. But looking to the future, we believe that it would be appropriate to move forward towards uniformity of criteria with the Olympic world in relation to this matter. German T12 sprinter Katrin Müller-Rodgart, who also competed against Petrillo, expressed similar concerns to German tabloid Bild. Basically, everyone should live how they like to live in everyday life, but I find it difficult in professional sports. She lived and trained for a long time as a man, that's true, so there's a possibility that physical conditions are different than for someone who comes into the world as a woman. So she could have advantages from it. Petrillo said she understands to some extent those who question whether she should be competing in the female category. The potential DSD athletes was a lot more complicated on this, but this is much more clear cut. I'd be thrilled to have a trans category within the Olympics. I really would, actually, because everyone should really get the chance to compete at the end of the day. They really should. I have asked myself, but Valentina, if you were a biological woman and you saw a Valentina racing with you, would you think? And I responded to myself that I would also have some doubts. she said. But then, through my experiences and what I learned, I can state clearly that it doesn't mean that because I was born a man that I will be stronger than a woman. That comment is very interesting because if you're thinking like that, that's very interesting because if you're imagining that you were a biological female and that you would have some doubts, then clearly you know that you shouldn't be competing against biological females. Petrillo referred to a study funded by the IOC and published in April in the British Journal of Sports Medicine showing that transgender women were actually at a physical disadvantage compared to cisgender women across several areas, including lung function and lower body strength. What? Really? I thought men. Sorry, this is going to bug me now. Okay, I had to pull that up because this was a cold read on the article. And I thought that was so random because my brain was telling me that men have the greater lung capacity and lung function. Specifically, women have smaller lungs than men, even when matched for height, and women have smaller, large conducting airways than men, even when matched for lung size. The only other thing that I could find to sort of corroborate is that here it says, and this isn't a science article, but it says women will have a tendency to gain strength more easily in the lower body than the upper body. Women start out with less muscle in the upper body versus the lower body due to physiological factors as well as usage. Everyone uses their legs, but not ever one that uses their upper body enough to cause adaptations to occur. Now, there are exceptional women out there who do have stronger legs than most men, but for the general population, lower body strength for women is going to be lower than that of a man. Valentino says, this means rather that I have a disadvantage because apart from anything else, going through hormonal treatment means that I'm going against my body, against the biology of my body, and that's certainly not good for it. At the age of 41, Petrillo returned to the track, winning 11 national competitions in the male T12 category between 2015 and 2018. She ran her first race as female in 2020 and went on to finish fifth in the European Para-Athletics Championships. She won bronze in the 200 and 400 meters at last year's World Para-Athletic Championships. At the Paralympics, the finals of the women's T12 400 and 200 will take place on September 3rd and 7th, respectively, with the heats the previous day. Petrillo will be cheered on by her ex-wife and 9-year-old son, as well as her brother. Unfortunately, we still live in a situation where trans people are marginalized, who will never be able to change a document like I did, who will never be able to get what they deserve, the respect they deserve, Petrillo said, and therefore my thoughts go to them, to those who have been less fortunate than me. So it will be interesting to see the results of Valentina's races. Do I think that this is right? Absolutely not. It's much more clear-cut than the potential DSD athletes, as I have said. I actually think it is now time to start looking at introducing extra categories because I don't think this should be happening. A biological female could have taken that place. Does that mean that Valentina should be excluded? No. Like I say, bring in the extra categories. In fact, actually, I would love to see those extra categories. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think now that the one door has actually been opened, this is going to be called for across, like universally. This is what is going to start happening everywhere. We're going to see it. It's going to happen. I don't think that we should be taking away the fairness out of women's sports or men's for that matter. And if we were in a situation where we could actually start discussing and putting out the possibilities of having categories for DSD athletes and transgender athletes, then I don't see why we couldn't start going forward with that. But I don't think it should be done at the detriment to women's sport, even if Valentina does actually believe that the biological females in that category will have the advantage. Please do smash the like button for this one. That would be a great big help because guaranteed I'm going to get another rap on the knuckles for it. Let me know what you think. Please keep it respectful in the comments below. Remember to chat about it. Don't shout about it. Subscribe to the channel if you would like to. Thank you very much for watching. And I will see you tomorrow at 4 p.m.